Secresy, or The Ruin on the Rock, by Eliza Fenwick. Volume 1, Letter 4. From Sibella Valmont to Caroline Ashburn. Was I pensive? Did I gaze? Did I sigh? Did I weep? When you, Miss Ashburn, were with me? What do I know when I have only for companion the faithful, the exquisite but torturing representation of memory? Can I do more than gaze and sigh and weep? Oh yes, I can, for, Miss Ashburn, I can raise altars on 1,000 spots in these woods, which were once hallowed by the footsteps of him I love. 2 years have elapsed since he bade me farewell, therefore did you see me pensive. That picture of me was painted by himself, therefore do I gaze on it. The fawn he took from a dying mother, by him she was nourished into familiarity. Nina has ceased to mourn the absence of her benefactor. She is satisfied with my caresses, but the heart of Sibella Valmont, nor now nor ever, can find any substitute for her Clement Montgomery. I was nearly 6 years old when they told me that I had lost my father. He had travelled a 12-month before to foreign countries for the benefit of his health, and I knew not that his death more than his absence would deprive me of my happiness, till my uncle Valmont came and carried me away in his coach from my governess, my maid, and all the domestics who loved me and whom I loved, of my father's household. Then indeed I mourned, and my uncle attempted to soothe me. He said I must be happy, for I was now dependent upon him, and it was my duty to love him, obey him, and be satisfied. My swelling heart revolted against being commanded to be happy, and I found not one person at the castle who could supply to me the want of my kind governess and kind maid, except a little dog that on my first entrance had fawned on me as if he wished to make me happier. Him I carried incessantly in my arms, and I told him, whenever we were alone, how I longed to get back to my father's house and to carry him along with me. In a fortnight after I arrived at Valmont, the affectionate little animal died, and I remained inconsolable. I was sitting weeping on the hall steps when my uncle came to me. He wiped away my tears, bade me be cheerful, and said he had procured me a better playfellow than Fidèle. My uncle led me with him into the library, and presented me to a boy 3 years older than myself, blooming, blushing, beautiful. "Clement is my adopted son, Sibella," said my uncle. "He will henceforth live with you in the castle. Take him out, child, and show him where you find the prettiest flowers and the ripest fruit." Ah, need I tell you how we advanced from shyness to familiarity, from familiarity to kindness, from kindness to love, all powerful, all potent? The castle then seemed no prison, the moat seemed no barrier. Sometimes my uncle carried Clement abroad to visit him, but then I was sure of his return. Even the hours of instruction I shared with him. He had a good and amiable tutor, who delighted in teaching to me also every science he taught to Clement, and if Mr. Valmont frowned upon me, or checked my industry, Clement was still at my side, and I smiled through my tears. Thus passed away the years from 6 till 16. On the day that I became 16, we had run races with our little fawn, and having wearied ourselves with exertion, we had lain down to rest in each other's arms, at the foot of that oak where you, Miss Ashburn, first beheld me. My uncle broke our happy slumbers. He came to the oak, and sternly commanded Clement to rise and follow him. I followed too. My uncle sat down in his library, and appeared to meditate, while we looked on each other with love and pity, and on him we looked with suspicion and affright. When my uncle began to speak, Clement trembled, but all my emotions were chained up in astonishment, for I heard him say that Clement should that day quit the castle, that he should seek new companions, new countries, new climates. "Never, never!" I cried. I folded my arms round my lover. "Thou shalt not go, Clement," I said. "We have world enough. No, thou shalt not go, my Clement." Mr. Valmont furiously bade me desist, but he had awakened a dread in my mind more powerful than my dread of him. For a time I expostulated with vehemence and courage, but I could not repress my tears, and while I was compelled to listen to my uncle, His tone, his words impressed me with my former awe of him, and rendered my remonstrance timid and useless. To Clement he said, "You are now to leave these boyish follies, and learn the duties of a man. You shall mix with society, but remember that you are not to be attracted by its specious appearances. Scrutinize into its follies and enormities as I have done, and let my precepts and instructions be your guide and law. Remember, Clement, that I took you from poverty and obscurity. Remember, too, that on your duty and gratitude depends your security. That child," he pointed to me, "mind me, sir, that child is in future to be considered only as your sister. As for you, Sibella," he said to me, "your duties in life are easily performed. I have chosen a part for you, and nothing is required of you but obedience. You have heard me declare to Clement, and I now repeat it to you, that to Clement Montgomery you are to be no more than a sister. This day he quits us. When he shall return I have not determined." Yes, Caroline, my Clement went. 2 years has he roamed in a world which I am forbidden to know. But alike in viewing the palace or the cottage, the burning mountain or the fertile plain, must the idea of Sibella accompany him. Our minds, our principles, our affections are the same, and, while I trace his never to be forgotten image within my breast, I know how fondly he cherishes the remembrance of mine. Caroline, adieu. I go to the oak. On that consecrated spot mountains, seas, continents dissolve, and my spirit unites with his. Sibella Valmont. End of Section 4.